In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to open a macro in Excel. To begin, you first need to open the Visual Basic for Applications window. This is where Excel stores and displays the tools used to work with macros. While you have your Excel workbook open, look at the keyboard and press Alt plus F11. You should see a new window appear, usually titled Visual Basic for Applications. If you do not see it immediately, make sure Excel is the active window. Then press the keys again. This step is important because it takes you from the spreadsheet view into the macro editing environment. Now that you have the Visual Basic for Applications window open, take a moment to look at the left side of the screen. You will see a section called the Project pane. This area shows the different parts of your workbook, including modules and sheets. Next, you will double-click Module 1 or the specific sheet name you want to access. If your macro code is stored in a module, you should select Module 1. If your macro is stored directly under a particular sheet, then double-click that sheet name instead. When you double-click, you are telling Excel exactly where the macro code is located, so it can load it into the editor for you to read or review. After you double-click the correct item in the left project pane, the macro code will open instantly. At this point, your screen should switch focus to the main text editor window. This is the large area in the Visual Basic environment where the code is displayed. You should now be able to see the macro code in plain text form. The code may look structured, with lines that start and end in a way that indicates what the macro does. This step matters because it confirms that Excel has loaded the right module or sheet, and it gives you direct access to the macro you want to open. Once the code is visible, you can review it right away. At this stage, you are not required to change anything. The goal is simply to open and view the macro so you know what it contains. If you are trying to find a specific macro among multiple pieces of code, you can scan the text until you locate the procedure that matches the macro you are interested in. Code is usually organized clearly, so you can often identify where one macro begins and another ends. If you do not see any code after selecting the module or sheet, do not worry. That can happen if the macro is stored somewhere else in the workbook. In that case, you would close or return to the left project pane and double-click the correct module or sheet name. The key idea is that the project pane is your map to where code lives inside your workbook. As you get used to the Visual Basic for Applications window, you will notice that the main text editor window always becomes the place where the selected code appears. So whenever you are trying to open a macro, your process will always be the same. Open the Visual Basic environment, then choose the module or sheet that contains the macro code. This gives you a consistent workflow and makes it easier to troubleshoot later if you ever cannot find the code you expect. That is the full process for opening a macro in Excel, and that covers everything you need to know.